Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. We're really looking forward to sharing as much information as we can in this short hour about portfolio and project management solutions with Atlassian. My name is Brian Dar, and I'm joined by Vantika Yos. And together, we are going to be walking you through the magical land of solutions around all of, hopefully, your very real problems. I am the head of enablement for Valiantus. Valiantus is an Atlassian solution partner, a platinum Atlassian solution partner. I'm also a SAFe SPC and Atlassian certified expert, and done some other stuff. And Vantika is one of our top consultants and also a well-known Atlassian guru. In this webinar today, we are going to walk through a number of things, specifically targeted solutions towards people who have their work in Jira, but are struggling to do the large-scale planning that they're used to with their traditional waterfall tools. So we're going to talk about why we need PPM solutioning. Then we're going to talk about a number of tools that we can implement within the Atlassian ecosystem for that. We're going to do a deep dive into each of those tools, basically a short demo live in the tool. So let's hope everything goes well with the internet. And then we will talk about alternative tools that you can use. And finally, we will hold some time for Q&A. All right, so let's get started. Hopefully you're in the right place. So why PPM? Why project and portfolio management solutioning? Well, we have a number of outcomes we need from our work trackers. Number one, we want to use these tools to align our individual contributor and teamwork up to our enterprise strategy. So we want to provide the ability to roll that all the way up the hierarchy and make sure that everyone is contributing meaningfully to company strategy. Next, we want to help visualize demand versus capacity. So we have a whole lot of work that we need to do, and we have a whole lot of people that can do it, but how do we know, do we have enough people to do it? Or do we have too much work? Do we need to de-scope? Do we need to ramp up staffing? So we'll be able to make those decisions better with these tools. Also, are we going to deliver on time with the current staffing? We also want to provide clear dependency management. So when we have multiple teams working on complex integrated products and systems, often a mismanaged dependency can delay us for a very long time, and often right when we need to deliver. And so being able to visualize our dependencies becomes paramount to ensuring smooth delivery. We also want to provide predictable and prioritized delivery of value. Two separate concepts, both start with P, both very important. Prioritization, are we working on the right thing? Do we have a central backlog? Is that backlog prioritized? Are we working on the next most important thing tomorrow? And also predictable, which really has a lot to do with dependency management and capacity versus demand. And is honestly the whole reason we do any of this is, are we predictable? Next, we want to support stakeholder and team visibility. So that's quite important. If our team can't see the work that their team and other teams are working on, we won't be able to connect for dependencies. And if stakeholders don't have visibility, they won't be able to chime in when there are challenges as well. We also reduce the number of fire drills, sort of as a product of all of the above. And lastly, we mitigate risk by putting our work openly and visibly in tools and tying it up to strategy. Also, these tools support risk mitigation strategies such as roaming, ROAM. It is important as well in a discussion of these tools, and I promise we'll get to the tools very soon. It's important to call out that the way that people plan and work can be quite different from enterprise to enterprise. Some enterprises are a pure agile play, some are purely waterfall, but there's a large number of groups in the middle that are hybrid. And we see a lot of those among our clients when we help implement these tools. So by adding these planning tools to your tool stack, you'll be able to keep your planning and delivery connected no matter what your environment and no matter what your planning style. So everything we're going to show today supports both. Some more on the agile side, some more on the waterfall side, but they all support both in the middle as well. All right. So whenever you get a tool, you have to roll it out. Sadly, it doesn't just happen overnight when the elves come in and magically, build your systems for you. So when we are implementing this, I think it's really important to talk about a concept around people, process, and tools. Today, we're mostly talking about tools, but really, if you're going to implement a tool, you need first the right people. If you don't have the right people, you're going to have a challenge anyway in your organization. But you also have to have the right processes. The wrong processes with the right people and tools will only accelerate failure. The tools just provide accelerant and guardrails around bad processes or good processes. So all that to say, it's often not just a tool that is needed when you add these sort of solutions into your enterprise, but a process change. If you go from not doing quarterly planning to doing quarterly planning, it doesn't matter if you have a tool. If you're not used to doing that planning, it's going to be a challenge. So whenever we implement these tools with clients, it's often just as much change management and training as it is tool configuration. And then preceding all of that, there's a lot of discussions around how do we want to work? What's best for our industry and for our position in that industry? So for the rest of this webinar, though, we're just going to assume that your processes are already optimized. You're running perfectly. Congratulations. And we're just going to talk about the tools. If you are working on us with implementing tools, again, change management and training is really important. In many cases, implementing these tools also does not mean ruining your team's lives. I know that poorly managed change management can really hurt your employees. And I think that there's a lot of a collective sense of my cheese has been moved, to quote a famous book. And we want you to know that while Jira, specifically the tool that we're talking about today, and all of these planning tools on top of it, Jira is designed for teams. It's a work tracker for teams. And so your teams should be able to continue to work in their unique, customized ways. We are all for standardization, both for training purposes and for cross-team synergies and personnel transfer purposes. But it is very important to allow your teams to do what they do best with the processes that work best for them. And your team may be on a maturity journey, and its processes will change over time as it gets better and better. So in general, what we would say for any of these tools is that standardization really needs to happen at the Jira epic layer or safe feature layer, just above the individual contributor team layer. This way, if you standardize that middle layer, management can provide prioritized and estimated work to the teams in a standard estimated way. And then those epics can be tagged with your customers and your products, et cetera, to provide roadmaps. You just filter on the tag, and now you have a roadmap of your epics, and they're estimated. So that layer of standardization is very important, and that layer can tie up to your higher level initiatives and strategy items, allowing for company strategy execution. But again, we can leave the team layer effectively alone to get their work done as they see fit. And if you have any more questions about that, please reach out. I can talk about this all day. Each of the tools that we're going to talk about today, with the exception of Jira Align, can also be done with just a few small teams to start. I think this is always a great way to roll out tools. Grab a pilot team, see how it goes, solve your emergent challenges, and then provide that light on the hill, shining example of efficiency and team happiness after you roll out the tool. And then show off that light to the rest of the company, and they will be drawn towards that light like moths to better efficiency. All right, so there is a variety of tools that we're going to talk about today, specifically a couple of apps and also a couple of connectors. The applications we're going to talk about within the Atlassian ecosystem are, on this slide, advanced roadmaps, structure and structure Gantt, Big Picture and Big Picture Enterprise, and Jira Align. There are other WBS style tools, work breakdown structure style tools, such as WBS Gantt and Big Gantt, that serve their own slightly more limited purposes. These are great tools. We often consult and implement them as well, but we see them generally less used than the ones here on this screen. So we're going to focus on the big ones here. I just want to talk about briefly, if you are absolutely married to Microsoft Project and cannot get out of that no matter how hard you try, that's okay. We have connectors available in this ecosystem that can connect Jira to Microsoft Project that will help you. Two of them are SEPTA Bridge and Fluent Pro Integration Hub. Both have their unique strengths and their unique challenges, and we can help you with that too if you're interested. All right, so advanced roadmaps. Let's dive into our first tool. Just an overview. Advanced roadmaps. Let me see. Do I have a slide on this? No, I don't. Oh, no problem. All right, I'll just talk. Advanced roadmaps, based on this very pretty picture here, is a cross-project. Sorry, it's actually called plans now. They changed that a couple of months ago. A lot of people in the ecosystem still know it as advanced roadmaps. I will change this slide next time. But plans/advanced roadmaps is a cross-project road mapping and visualization tool with a team-level capacity management module and limited auto-scheduling functionality. Again, cross-project road mapping, team-level capacity, limited auto-scheduling. But it's a great visualization tool that is native in Jira. It is native with Jira Cloud Premium specifically, so if you're on free or standard, you won't be able to use it. And it is native on Data Center as well. What we're looking at here in this visual, and we'll hop actually into the tool in a second, is the primary object of a plan. Each plan has its own definable scope / issues and projects that you choose to bring into it. It has its own definable and savable views, its own definable scenarios that you can switch back and forth between and then push the changes that you want to push, and its own permissions. Two very important caveats to this, just before we dive in. Plans/advanced roadmaps is not a Gantt chart. You can pull out your old college business book to find out what a Gantt chart is, or hop on YouTube if you'd like, but it is very, very much not a Gantt chart. It is much more like, I'd actually liken it to a Jira Kanban board in that it takes issue data and visualizes it in a useful way. A Kanban board visualizes data for your team and for process flow, and a plan in Jira visualizes your data in a work breakdown table and roadmap. All right, well, why don't we just hop right into the tool to help that make much more sense. So what I'm looking at right now is a plan. And along the left side, we have these different views of the plan. The plan has its own scope, which is very important. We have a timeline, which we're looking at right here. We have a calendar where we can see all of this work, spread out over a calendar. And then we have a team module, a releases module, and a dependency map, which is lovely. And I'll just show that off really quick while I'm showing this around. So we can see all of our dependencies and we can group them and sort them and see which ones are active, and we can dive in and we can change them and we can unlink them. And it's a very helpful map. But mostly what you're going to be looking at is the timeline. That's the big piece of this. So what we have over here on the left side of the timeline, and I'm going to shrink this left bar to give us more space. On the left side, we see our work breakdown structure. So I've got my epics that then break down into my stories, tasks, bugs, etc. And then on the right side, we see our dates visualized. So I've actually got the dates right here, and they are visualized over here on the timeline. And the timeline scale and scope is totally configurable. It can be always relative and updating, or it can be fixed. And you can zoom in and out to weeks, months, quarters, or years. And then you can zoom back and forth, or I should say scroll back and forth as well to find the information that you need to find. Oops, excuse me. Did not mean to hop off of that. All right, there we go. So the date behavior that you're seeing is basically whatever the date is in the Jira field is how it shows up on the timeline. Dependency behavior. We have soft dependencies. And what I mean by soft dependencies is we are seeing Jira links here. So this is an important aspect here. So I've got issues linked through the blocks and is blocked by Jira relationship. And so this is not this is not a Gantt style linking, is what I'm trying to say. If I move one of these objects, its dependence will not move with it. It's just telling the user, hey, something is blocked, or something has to come first. There is a sandbox functionality, which is lovely. Over here on the left, we have these different scenarios. So right now, whenever I make a change, if I change a date here, I am seeing that date change save as a green flag. And I can make other changes too. I could, for example, change our estimate on this if I wanted to, and that change is saved as a swag or as a value. And then all of those changes are being stored and waiting to be pushed back into Jira. So I've got the review changes option here, and then I can choose which changes from my planning scenario I want to push back, which is really helpful because since we can have multiple scenarios, like over here, I've got my best case scenario, which is saving in green, and I've got my worst case scenario, which will be saving all of its changes in red. I can choose after my planning session which of those two scenarios to push. When it comes to estimation, you can estimate one of these plans in story points or native Jira time tracking, but you cannot do a hybrid within one plan. It's either story points or another numeric field or time tracking. There's also no native conversion between story points and time within this particular tool. But you could write a Jira automation on the back end through the UI that would automatically update, let's say, a time field based on story points. So that would solve that conversion planning problem that many people have. When it comes to critical path, there is no critical path marking. You can see the dependencies and the previously shown dependency map, but there's no critical path highlighting. There's also no baseline saving either. Again, it's not a Gantt chart. And there is also no earliest start, latest finish sort of settings. Again, the bars just appear as the dates are set on the Jira issues. One place, though, that Advanced Roadmaps / Jira Plans really shines is in its view customization and its view sharing. So right now, I'm looking at epics down to stories, but I can actually save multiple views. So if I zoom up to initiative planning, this view is showing initiatives breaking down into epics and then hiding the tasks underneath. And in each of these saved views, I've got one for initiatives, epics. I've got one for team level capacity planning, which I'll dive more into in a moment. But for each of these saved views, I can choose how to color the roadmap bars. I can choose how to sort, how to group. I can choose how I'm showing dependencies. I can choose if I want to hide warnings, which warnings I want to hide, etc. And then I can save all of that into one view that is aimed at a particular stakeholder or set of stakeholders. And then when I'm ready to share, I can click the share button and I can share a read-only link as long as someone has access to Jira. I can embed it in an iframe. I can drop it on a Confluence page, which is my personal favorite. I can export all the values as a CSV to do some external data munging in Excel. And lastly, I can save an image if I'm married to PowerPoint. And if that's the currency of conversation with my executives, I can always save a particular snapshot. And because I can save that view, I can come back and update that snapshot whenever I need to. So lots of good sharing options. Let's talk really quickly about resourcing behavior. Roadmaps, I'm sorry, plans, advanced roadmaps. It has team level work assignment. So when you're looking at capacity, which I've set up here in a capacity planning view, again, same plan. You can do team level assignment. So this is all the work assigned to alpha team, and uh, the the uh, the availability is managed through boards. So I'm pulling in sprints for this alpha team, and so the open capacity is actually managed through the board and through a team setting over here, where I can say on average how many story points a team can do per sprint, or how many hours of work a team can do per week. And then in here, I can adjust each individual sprint by clicking here, and I can change the capacity per iteration. There is no skills sort of setting for planning, because this is team level capacity, not individual level capacity. So that's something important to keep in mind. Yeah, there is an auto scheduler that exists, and you can do sort of resource leveling through that auto scheduler. It's up here. I will say that I try to dive into the auto scheduler about once every 2 years, and I still personally find it a little too opaque and confusing to recommend to my clients. It is also really just for team level auto scheduling. So it will take into account things like assignees and story points and capacity and rank and some other things that I'm not aware of, and then adjust the stories in sprints based on that algorithm. Lastly, there is no cross-plan resource view, unlike some of the other tools that we will show today. All right, so that's a deep dive into plans / formerly known as advanced roadmaps. And let's just talk about some deciding factors. So advanced roadmaps is native with Jira. Advanced roadmaps is not a Gantt chart, as you saw. It doesn't handle dependencies like a Gantt. It doesn't handle milestones like a Gantt. It doesn't do baselining like a Gantt, etc. It's great for road mapping, though. I mean, it's really good. And it's good for team level resourcing, and it unfortunately has some opaque auto scheduling. But we use it a lot internally within our company to visualize projects, and I think that you will find it useful no matter what you do. And plus, it's free, so you might as well try it out. All right, the next app that we are going to look at is Structure and Structure Gantt. So what is Structure and Structure Gantt? These are two add-ons now owned by Tempo, formerly of Tempo Timesheets. I guess they still make them. And Structure and Structure Gantt is a robust Gantt chart add-on for Jira. You can deploy it in Jira Cloud and Jira Data Center. You will need to buy both apps. Structure just gives you this WBS side on the left, and then the Structure Gantt additional add-on provides the Gantt chart add-on as well. So it's actually a 2-app solution, just like some of the other ones we're going to look at today as well. The tool organization, the primary object is, I would say, a Gantt that is built on a structure. So you basically define the structure, you define its scope, what its hierarchy looks like. It can follow the Jira hierarchy, or it can follow a custom hierarchy if you would like. The structure defines its own views and its own fields, and its own scenarios, its own baselines, its own scheduling and resource behavior, its own quick filters. It is a very robust tool that is quite fun to play around with. And then, of course, over on the right, you get all of this Gantt stuff. Like I mentioned a second ago, you get these baselining. You can see critical path stuff. It's a great Gantt chart. All right, so might as well hop right into the tool and show it off a little bit. So here we have Structure. And this is a structure built on the same data that I was showing you before. So over here on the left, we have our work breakdown structure, and we can choose to add additional fields over here if we find those useful. So far, very, very, very similar to advanced roadmaps / plans. Sorry, it's going to take me forever to stop saying that. But over here, we have all of this data. Sorry, shift click. And we can scroll through and we can see the roll-ups and we can see the progress through the bars, and we can see the expansion. So much like a Gantt chart, just as you would expect. And if you move items around, their dependence will, depending on how you're choosing to visualize, move with them, which is really helpful. So the date behavior, where things appear in the Gantt chart, is based on it's generally automatic, and you can actually click on each item to show how you want to schedule it, if you want to auto schedule or if you want to manually schedule. And so if it's on auto, you'll see it show up based on its properties, such as what's the estimate and what resource is assigned to it, etc. The dependency behavior is fantastic. So you just saw that little F to S very, very quickly appear. You can do when you add a dependency, you can do 4 different dependency styles. Somebody has been playing in my sandbox recently. That is frustrating. Anyway, I'll just tell you what they are. They are start to start, start to finish, finish to start, and finish to finish. And it's done by Jira issue links, but it behaves like a Gantt chart within the Gantt chart with appropriate behavior. And you can do lead and lag time as well. Sandboxes. So whenever you're planning, it's really nice to not break your production data. And Structure does have a sandbox option, but it currently only provides it for the data center deployment. If you're making changes in Structure in cloud, all of your changes are live. So accept that limitation. Critical path highlighting. Yes, you can show critical path. I'm trying to remember exactly where it is. Yeah, here it is. Critical path. So you can make, and I'm not quite sure where in my example I have a critical path shown, but you can show the red lining underneath the critical path to show all of those connections. It also has baselining, and in fact, multiple baselines, which is great. So you can make a new baseline, and you can come back to your plan a month later and see how far you've drifted. It does not have early start, early finish, late start, or late finish constraints. So for that piece of a Gantt chart, you will not have that feature. And for sharing visualizations, you can share pretty easily. You can share a structure Gantt. I guess it's all over here. I can show you. You can control who can see it, who can do what to it, who can edit the structure of it. And then you can share it out here. You can export it to Excel. You can export the Gantt chart itself, and export it as a PDF or an SVG to drop into, again, a PowerPoint. There's also a Confluence macro for it, and there's also a Jira dashboard macro for Structure. So it is well integrated into the Atlassian ecosystem. There's also resourcing behavior, and unlike what I was showing before with plans / advanced roadmaps, this resourcing behavior is done per individual. So here we can actually configure this person's profile. Sorry, not there. Here in settings, we can update the number of units that they're available to work on. We can adjust their vacations. One thing you can also do actually is you can do resourcing by team as well as individual within Structure, which I really like. I like the hybrid planning approach, depending on which team I'm planning for. You can do resource availability through shared calendars with working hours and time zones and days and holidays. Resources can be temporarily assigned a reduced percentage or an expanded capacity. And you can set resource units, work calendars per resource. It's pretty robust. The one thing it doesn't do is it won't do skilling or skills. So I can't say that this work item must be done by a graphic designer, for example. That feature is not available here. It does have resource leveling in the data center deployment. So you can run a resource leveler to move issues based on a desired priority attribute, such as rank, in order to bring more resources under 100%. So if we're all oversubscribed, I press the resource leveler in Data Center, and it levels it out across all of the people, and it puts the highest priority items first. Lastly, it does not do a cross-plan resource view. So you only get the resources within this particular structure. So what are the deciding factors on structure and structure Gantt? Oh, there we go. Slices. Sorry, I forgot to show this. When you're in the settings of a given structure, there's this really cool thing called slice. And when you make a slice, you get to define by JQL what work items fall under this slice. And once you, let's do like a key result. Once you make that slice, you then, come on. You then get to define how that slice behaves. So you can change the way that you estimate for that particular subset of work, or you can change the color that it appears in on the Gantt chart. So a really, really granular, fine-tuned way to optimize your planning. So I'm a big fan of that feature within Structure and Structure Gantt. Again, it does team and individual level resourcing or capacity. You can do multiple baselines, very helpful. You can do duration based on your estimates. The structures themselves are quite useful, much like in the advanced roadmap/plan view of breaking your work down. That's just a nice way to see work, especially for the team. There's no skills. There's only resource leveling in Data Center. There's only sandboxes in Data Center, and it is great for sharing visualizations. We have a lot of clients that are really, really happy with Structure and Structure Gantt. Next tool, as we go through our parade of tools, Big Picture and Big Picture Enterprise. So this is the third tool that we're talking about today. Big Picture and Big Picture Enterprise are somewhat similar to Structure and Structure Gantt, but along a different axis, and they provide more tool functionality than Structure and Structure Gantt. Basically, it's a multi-tool, and it contains Big Gantt if you're looking at that as a standalone app. Plus, it has modules for Agile and program boards. Excuse me. It has modules for risk management, roadmap and objective management. It's got some really detailed resource planning, including workload plans, holiday plans, and skills, which is the missing piece from Structure that some people are looking for. It has team management, some advanced calendars, and some advanced reporting. The primary mode of planning is called a box, which is interesting. With Big Picture Enterprise, you get unlimited boxes. And basically, you can see multiple boxes here. So a box could be a PI, a box could be an iteration, a box could be an Agile release train, a box could be a traditional project. It's just sort of a grouping of work that you're going to plan around. Big Picture has unlimited scenarios. It's got cross-box resourcing views, which is something we haven't seen yet in our tools. You can integrate it with Tempo. You can do data residency. All of that comes only with Big Picture Enterprise, though. So really, if you're going to do this, you're going to need Big Picture Enterprise if you're doing this at all at scale. So that's where you need the two apps for this particular suite. You can deploy this on cloud as well as Data Center. Again, each box, which is the structure of Big Picture, has its own definable scope, its own definable hierarchy, its own definable views, scenarios, scheduling and resourcing behavior, and its own filtering behavior. And each box can also bidirectionally sync with Trello if you've got a large contingency of your organization working in Trello. Box types, kind of like issue types, they define how boxes relate to each other with parenting in your overall PPM portfolio planning solution. And box types also contain metadata that can be changed once a box is created. So in this way, it's both like an issue type, but also like an issue template. And some examples of boxes are portfolios, programs, program increments, iterations, and uh, projects, phases, initiatives. There's a lot. But it'll make more sense when we dive into the tool. So let's do that. Oh, where are we? There we go. All right. So this is the big picture home view. And what we're seeing right now is we're seeing our entire company's portfolio visualized here. That's all saved up in the home section. And then if we collapse some of these, we can see I've got a demo, agile portfolio, and then I've got a demo hybrid portfolio. So in the hybrid portfolio, I've got a program within the safe style. So I've got a program, a PI, and iterations under that. But then I also have a traditional project that has stages. And so all of these are basically boxes and box types. And this is to show you that you can do hybrid planning within the same tool, or you can do just, one style of planning. I'm gonna demo out of the demo portfolio here. And again, there's a lot of other tools in this as well. So I'm just showing you the Gantt functionality. All right, so along the left side here within this demo portfolio, we see our work breakdown structure, broken down from our strategies down to our initiatives, down to our epics, and then down to our stories, tasks, and bugs. On the right side, we see the Gantt chart that we were used to over in Structure, or Microsoft Project for that matter. Issues appear over here in the Gantt section, a little more like plans. They show up based on manually updated start and end dates, or auto-scheduled dates based on your dependency links. It does not look at estimates to determine duration. You can select top-down, bottom-up manual, or locked scheduling per issue. So if I right-click, and I can choose one of these scheduling modes. So I can have like an epic schedule based on its children, or I can have the children constrained by the epic, or I can drag it out manually, or I can lock it as well. Dependencies, just like Structure and Structure Gantt, we have start to start, start to finish, finish to start, and finish to finish traditional dependencies. Sorry, just lost my words. You can also do optional lag time as well, so that's nice, particularly for waterfall planning. And these are all done through Jira links that Big Picture sets up. Big Picture also does something that I think is pretty cool. It differentiates between scheduling what they call strong links, which are these solid line dependencies here, start to start, start to finish, and soft links, which are these dotted line dependencies, or dashed. The soft links represent things that your developers, for example, would say like, oh, this issue blocks this issue, but it's not a start to start or start to finish strong relationship like in a Gantt style. It's just saying, hey, this is blocked by this. So you can show both. You can actually choose to show strong and soft or not, which is helpful. Sandboxes. Yes, there are multiple sandboxes, and they are mostly available within Big Picture Enterprise. When I say mostly, I mean, yeah, they're only available in Big Picture Enterprise. They're called scenarios. If you don't have the enterprise version, you will not have multiple sandboxes. You'll just have one. Estimation. Estimation is done with time tracking through original estimate or remaining estimate or story points. You can also automatically convert between story points and time, which is quite helpful without having to use a Jira automation. And that conversion is configurable per box. So in one program, you might have one style of estimation, and in a different program, you may have a different style of estimation. It does have critical path highlighting, which is swell. Everybody loves critical path. I'm trying to remember where that... Oh, this is killing me. Never do it live. Yeah, there we go. Under view. And then we can show critical path over here. It's hard jumping between multiple tools. Baselines. Yes, you can set baselines for the entire Gantt or per issue, but you can only have one baseline per issue. So if you need multiple baselines, that's going to be in structure instead. And those baselines are saved into Jira fields back on the Jira issue. Unlike the other tools, no, I'm sorry, just like the other tools, this tool also does not have early start, early finish, late start, late finish constraints. That is restricted to more traditional Gantt tools such as Microsoft Projects. Lastly, sharing visualizations. I'm not nearly as much of a fan of this. You will need an additional third app called Big Template. I suppose I should not insert my own opinion on this. I will just say you will need a third app called Big Template if you want to share multiple visualizations out of this. You can always do a screenshot, but it is not as easy as the other tools. Resourcing. You can resource. It's swell. So down here, again, we have similar resourcing that we've seen before. Resourcing only does individual assignment on this tool. It does not optionally allow for team assignment. Your availability can be done through holiday plans and shared workload plans and individual absence adjustments if you want to get that granular. There is skills. That's a big piece of big picture that a lot of groups are looking for. So you can come to an issue within big picture. We'll just hop over here and show you. And you can open up the big picture skills. Oops, sorry, it just jumped around on me. And you could say for a given piece of work, this item of work requires a developer or a project manager. And there's this find the perfect match function where you can have certain resources flagged with certain skills, and it'll look at their availability and their capacity and all that fun stuff. Resource leveling, no, there is not a resource leveling function within Big Picture. And there is a cross-plan resource view. So we find that for PMOs that are really into individual resource planning and at a very detailed angle, this is the tool that they tend to want to go with because you can do that cross-plan resourcing view. So why would you choose Big Picture? Let's just recap that. It's multiple tools in one. You've got risks, you've got program boards, calendars, Gantts, all that fun stuff. You can do cross-plan resource views. You can do skills. You can do resource contouring, but not resource leveling. You can have some configurations within a box, but it's not as granular as slices within structure. And it requires an additional add-on to export visualizations. But if you are really into resource planning, this is a great tool. All right. The last major Atlassian tool that I want to talk about today is Jira Align. Jira Align, the fourth tool of the day, is an enterprise tool for companies following scaled agile frameworks. And it is a standalone application that connects to Jira. It provides multiple layers of scale. But it's a big, big tool. This is Atlassian's major planning tool. We actually have an upcoming webinar that does a very deep dive into this. It walks through all of the features. But I'll just talk about some of those features right now. Jira Align provides road mapping. It provides OKRs. It provides program boards, program portfolio, and strategy level dashboards. It provides really complex but highly useful dependency management. I shouldn't say really complex. It provides detailed and robust dependency management. And it connects to Jira via a connector that shuttles data back and forth. This is an example of the program board where I can have multiple sprints in columns, and then I can see all of the features that each of my teams is working on for a given quarter or program increment. Oh yeah, and here's a list of everything I just said. It's got roadmaps, OKRs, program boards, etc. We are seeing some of these features coming from Jira Align and getting rolled basically into Jira proper. Some of the OKRs have been rolled into Atlassian's Atlas app, which is actually just rolling natively into Jira right now. It's currently in process. Ooh, that's an advertisement. let me just show you a brief overview of the tool. It looks a lot like Jira now, which is nice. But unlike Jira, you see we have these different layers of scale. So we have the enterprise layer, the portfolio layer, the program layer, the team layer, and then this orthogonal slice of product that can cut across those layers. And if you're looking at, let's say, the program layer, you, ooh, I think it froze, there we go. You can, wow, it's acting kind of slow. Sorry about that. You can choose a given program and then choose a program increment and then pull in all the data about that program increment. So it allows you to run the business now and plan the business in the next increment or review the previous increment. It has it has a feature backlog, a strategy backlog, a team backlog, which is really in Jira. There's not so much I can say about this that you wouldn't be better served with by looking at our much more deep dive webinar into this. But I do recommend watching that webinar. This is a very complex tool. It takes about 3 months to implement within one program because, like I mentioned before, there's a lot of process change that has to happen. But if you want to look into this, I would love to chat with you more privately when we do our next webinar, or in between, feel free to email. There is one last tool that I want to talk about that's not really a PPM solution, but it's something that I think people forget about. And that is goal and objective management. Atlassian has a great tool for that right now. It's called Atlas. And like I said, Atlas is being rolled into Jira. So everything I show you in here is actually going to be natively in Jira and not as a separate app over the coming months. It already is in some instances, and in other instances, it's going to get migrated. But basically, what you can do is you can have goals, like a 50% increase in ticket sales. And those goals can break down into children. Not sure why that's not doing it. There we go. And those children can break down into children. So you can have this nested goal, very similar to OKRs. A top level goal would be an objective, and its children would be its key results. And you can show status and target dates. And then within each of these, you can actually connect work in Jira up to that goal. And so in your team's work tracker, you can see the goals that their work is contributing to, and you can write updates towards those goals. And there's a nice feature in here where it'll prompt your teams to write updates every Friday, and they'll get those updates every Monday. And so this is a way to do management of work through goal setting and then allow your teams to contribute work towards that goals. I think a lot of organizations aren't using this feature, and I wish they would, because by setting the top level goals and hiring smart people to attach their work to those goals, I think you'll achieve those goals much faster. And these tools allow you to visualize those goals for your teams. So if you want to talk more about that too, send me an email. I'll buy you lunch. All right, that is the end of the parade of tools and options. I do want to talk about just a couple things really quick. We have a lot of upcoming events that was posted in the chat a little bit ago. We have a YouTube channel that has a lot of previous webinar recordings. If you do want to work with us, you don't have to. But we have a lot of implementation practices and some really smart consultants that have helped major companies roll these tools out. We also do training. We do other free webinars. So basically, if you need to get something out of your Atlassian ecosystem, we can help you with that. I do want to back up for just a second and ask if there's any questions. And while people are writing those questions in the Q&A, I just want to thank you for coming and for spending your time today. Your time is very valuable. And I really hope that you learned something about these tools that you will find useful in the future. Please feel free to reach out. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find Vantika and myself via email here. I'll go ahead and check the Q&A. Looks like no questions. Great. Either we explained everything or we scared everyone off. Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it and look forward to talking with you later on. Have a good day.